Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow reading enthusiasts, thank you so much for coming. Today we're here to celebrate the official launch of the new novel, The Seer, by the incredibly talented author, Raquel Y. Levitt. We're so glad to see so many friends and family and many new faces come out to support Raquel today. So just a quick preview of what we have planned. I'm going to read a short bio of Raquel so we can all learn a little bit more about her. Then we'll ask Raquel to come up and read the first 2 chapters of her new novel, The Seer, to get you all really hooked. Then I'll proceed to have an informal interview with Raquel and ask her a few questions about the book, her writing style, and so forth. Then we'll take some questions from all of you, so we'll have a Q&A from the audience, which will be fun. Then we'll break for brunch around noon and mingle, say hi to Raquel, and then we'll get the book signing started where you all have an opportunity to purchase the book and have Raquel sign her novel right in front of you. So with that, thank you again for coming, and sit back, relax, enjoy the event, and I'd like to introduce Raquel Y. Levitt.
Thank you guys for being here. It means a lot to me. I'm going to try not to break down because I have to stay strong so I can read for you. Again, I'm thrilled that you're here. So thank you, and I hope to have a few minutes to talk afterwards.
Raquel Y. Levitt has an MFA in creative writing from the Newport MFA and a master's degree in English from UTSA. She taught American literature and composition at the university level, but after several years of teaching, she shelved her grade book for good in order to pursue what she really loved, creative writing. Ran out of battery. Her short stories have been published in the Bookends Review, Wayward's Literary Journal, Pure Slush's Lifespan Anthology, and Feisty Deeds, Historical Fictions of Daring Women. 3 more have been awarded an honorable mention from Writer's Digest, and yet another was a finalist in Screencraft's cinematic short story competition. Many of her stories include a historical setting and a strong female protagonist finding her voice and her power. Her debut novel, The Seer, about a young woman who will risk her life and freedom to redeem a past mistake, is set against the backdrop of class distinctions, gender oppression, and the suffrage movement of the late 1890s. Raquel's an active member of Women Fiction Writers Association, WFWA's HistFic Affinity Group, Historical Novel Society, and Writers League of Texas. She loves to attend writer conferences and writer retreats. For the past 4 years, she's belonged to a tight-knit critique group who are acutely in tune with one another's work. Besides being a writer, Raquel's an avid reader, a book hoarder, world traveler, amateur nature photographer, birder, and collector of cool rocks. She lives, works, and plays in the Texas Hill Country and Montana's Bitterroot Valley. So let's pretend I didn't introduce her before. Raquel Y. Levitt.
Yeah, and I also want to thank Barry and Lorraine for organizing this for me. So. So these chapters, if you've read them over, you know they're really short, so I'm just going to read the first 2 for you. Okay, so chapter 1, Rolla, Missouri, 1896. I've never been able to see God through the mist colors coming off everyone in church. Grandma Rose once told me to close my eyes to the colors and feel God. But it's hard ignoring the man or woman sitting next to me, amening and hallelujahing if their mist is repulsive, like moss green or bile yellow, because it tells me that something is wrong in their heart, mind, or body. There's one thing I know for certain. Mist colors don't lie, even if people do. Pastor Garrett constantly reminds us we'll go to hell if we don't some people don't seem to care. Not even the pastor. His mist turns purplish red. What Grandma once told me was a hush-hush color whenever he and Mrs. Stanton look at each other. If they haven't crossed the forbidden line yet, they will soon. But I can't see visions in my mind as clearly as my sister Catherine or Grandma do. At least not yet, so I can't be sure. Do you think the pastor needs to reread his own sermon about the weakness of the flesh? I asked Catherine when the service had finally ended and we were standing under the shade of the cottonwoods. Catherine nodded. The pastor and Mrs. Stanton kissed each other in private. What did you say? I jerked my head toward the voice. Beth Evers, a classmate, was standing closer than we realized. Grandma's always telling me to trust my instincts, and at that moment I sure wish I had. I looked at Beth, thinking about the contagion of stories that now spread through town. I shrugged and shook my head. We didn't say anything. She crossed her arms over her chest and raised her chin and her voice. Catherine most certainly did say something. Several teenagers gathered around us, probably hoping for a fight. I heard her. She said the pastor and Mrs. Stanton kiss each other in private. A collective whoop from the boys startled me. I looked toward Grandma and Daddy and realized all the adults were looking at us. A few of the boys ran to the pastor, shouting over one another. Mrs. Stanton went limp. Mr. Stanton caught her and carried her back into the church while a couple of the church ladies followed with their fans flicking over her face. If it hadn't been my fault, it would have been the most exciting church day ever. Daddy stalked up to us, grabbed my sister by the arm, and pulled her over to the pastor. My stomach nodded, knowing it should have been me. Children stood wide-eyed, and teenagers snickered and elbowed one another while the adults shook their heads and clicked their tongues at Catherine. Hypocrites! I wanted to scream. I looked at Grandma Rose when Daddy demanded Catherine apologize. Catherine's mist darkened and she crinkled her forehead. I could tell she wanted to butt in. Pastor Garrett placed his palm over his heart and closed his eyes. I don't want to know why you feel the need to soil mine and Mrs. Stanton's impeccable reputations, he said to my sister. I want to remind you that you are setting up your soul to burn in hell for all eternity if you keep on lying like that. Now kneel down so I can pray for you. The hair on my arm prickled as Grandma pushed her way to the front of the crowd. I sensed our world was about to shift. Hold on, Pastor, she said. Keep out of this, Mother, Daddy snapped. Pink splotches were spreading from his neck to his face. Grandma ignored him. I will not stand by and have my granddaughter humiliated for telling the truth. If someone's going to burn in hell for lying, it's you, Pastor. Daddy's shoulders slumped as the crowd erupted. He didn't even try to slow the mares as we rode home. His set jaw and the way he sat rigid instead of swaying when the wheels of our buckboard slammed down on a wet rut were enough for me and Catherine to keep quiet. Grandma Rose sat next to him just as angry, but for a different reason. Pastor Garrett had accused her of having an evil mind and forbade her to ever step foot in his house of worship again. I stared down at the coffee-colored splatter of mud on my dress, stewing with the thought that until this day we'd been able to keep our abilities a secret. Our hides would have been saved if I had kept my mouth shut about the pastor's weakness. Sometimes the right choice becomes obvious only after suffering the consequences of taking the wrong one. I grabbed Catherine's hand and held it until Daddy brought the wagon to a jolting halt in front of the barn. Y'all get inside and wait for me. He jumped down and began unhitching the horses. Catherine helped Grandma Rose out of the wagon before trudging into the house. My goodness, Sarah, look at your dress, Grandma said when she saw the mud. I know, yours too. We've got some wash to do. She looked down at the spatters on her skirt. Oh, Lordy. I guess go on in. I stood by the open window and watched as Daddy came out of the barn holding a switch. There's no need for that, Charles, Grandma said when he came inside. You bet there is, he looked at me. Were you a part of this? It's not Sarah's fault, Daddy, Catherine said. I glanced at my sister, then down at my mud-crusted Sunday shoes. It certainly was my fault. Catherine had always been braver, maybe because she's a year older, always protected me whether I deserve it or not. Then you get on back there. Catherine and Daddy headed to his sleeping room. Grandma Rose stood behind me with her hands on my shoulders. We listened to the switch snap again and again, each one followed by my sister's whimpers. My heart gripped at every one of them. Damn you, Charles, Grandma whispered. Catherine sobbed as she walked out of Daddy's room and into ours and closed the door. Grandma gave me a push. Go on. Catherine was lying on her side, sobbing into her pillow. I bent over and gave her shoulders a squeeze. I'm sorry. I'll wash the dishes tonight. It was the only thing I could think of to make it up to her. I I gave her a kiss on the cheek before stepping back into the hall where I stilled and listened to the quarreling going on in the parlor. Catherine is a young woman. 16 is too old for that switch, Grandma said. She needs to start acting like a woman, then she embarrassed me in front of Emma and everyone else. And if you don't want those girls to be beat, then stop encouraging them with that mind-reading nonsense the way you do. It's not nonsense. God himself has given us a gift. You know better than anyone that the gift has cost us more than we've got to spend, so I don't want to hear any more about it. I think it's a shame Daddy doesn't have the gift like we three of us do. If he did, maybe he wouldn't hate that part of us as much as he does. Several days after my nosiness caused my sister to get whipped, Daddy stood from his rocking chair and walked onto the porch. We'd heard a horse whinnying through the open window. I craned my neck to see who it was and went right on back to playing checkers with Catherine. "It's Tom Clifton," I said, though nobody asked. He was our widower neighbor and probably Daddy's closest friend. "What's the news?" Daddy always asked that when someone stopped by unexpected. "I was wondering if you heard about Pastor Garrett," Tom said. Catherine and I looked at one another while Grandma stopped rocking and held her knitting needles still. "He's got a broken nose and a shiner delivered to him by Roy Stanton. Roy's in jail," Tom said. I stepped closer to the window, making sure to stay out of their sight. Daddy's jaw was clenched and he looked off into the horizon. He walked in on the pastor and Mrs. Stanton acting like they were in a fever over one another, their lips and their hands moving all over each other. "I got young women in there," Daddy grumbled. "Now, I ain't one for gossip. I'd appreciate it if you'd go on home." "Well, thought you'd like to know. Catherine and your mother told the truth after all." Catherine kept me up that night with fretting. Trouble's coming, I can feel it. I didn't want to admit that I felt it too. "Don't worry, no one will remember what you said." I wish that was true, but we both knew I was lying. Gossip around Raw was like a nasty stomach bug that spreads and infects quickly, especially dirty talk like what Tom Clifton was telling Daddy. I knew darn well no one had forgotten what Catherine revealed the pastor's secret first. I woke up with a gnawing in my stomach. By the way she didn't talk much at breakfast, I could tell Catherine had it too. As we walked to school, the feeling grew. We slowed our steps when we saw a group of our classmates ahead watching us. Their mists were a mix of dull and bright shades, and the way the colors extended beyond their bodies more than usual revealed their excitement. I looked at Catherine and noticed her eyes skimming the faces of the crowd. "They're waiting for us, aren't they?" I asked. "Yep," she said. As we approached them, the hair on my arms prickled. As soon as I saw Beth Evers, I knew this was her doing. "Tell us how you and your grandmother knew about Pastor Garrett and Mrs. Stanton," the little boy said. "Are y'all witches?" "Pastor said y'all have evil minds." "I was spreading rumors, that's all. I didn't know it was for real," Catherine said. "Liar," Beth yelled. "My daddy said you're spawned from the devil, and so is your grandmother." Well, it was one thing to hurl hatefulness at me and Catherine, but Grandma Rose is another matter. She's an angel on earth, even if she has been kicked out of church for good. I punched Beth square in the mouth. Blood and spit spewed, and a rock hit Catherine in the forehead. She pulled me out of the crowd when more rocks started flying. "Run, witches, run away and don't come back," someone screamed. "Grandma," I yelled when we made it back to the property. I was out of breath and sobbing. How I missed Mama, especially at a time like this. Catherine had a cut on her temple that bled down the side of her face, and pain shot through my back and my head. "They threw rocks," I cried as Grandma Rose rushed out of the house. She held Catherine by the shoulders. "God, those awful people." By supper time, the crescent-shaped cut on Catherine's temple had stopped bleeding and the swelling had turned purple. Daddy kept glancing at it as he ate his smothered roast beef and mashed potatoes. His mist was grayish-blue, the color of sadness. Not of grief, but a different kind of heartache. Catherine and I didn't dare speak. We knew he was mulling over how Mr. Evers had stormed over here, gripping Beth by the arm so Daddy could see what his monster had done. Her lips were 3 times their normal size and the bottom one had split. After I apologized against my will, I didn't get the whipping I thought I would. Instead, Daddy was stone quiet after they left, which was almost worse. Grandma behaved as if she didn't seem to care one way or another about Daddy's mood. "I'd love to be in church on Sunday. Ooh, that'd be something to see. You girls fill me in when you get home about how much sobbing and sniveling Pastor Garrett does to his broken nose when he begs everyone for forgiveness. I wonder if Betsy Stanton will be sitting front and center like that's enough," Daddy said. "That man better apologize to Catherine in front of everyone." Daddy banged his fist on the table, making water slosh out of our glasses. Grandma shoved a heaping forkful of potatoes in her mouth and winked at me. When the pots are scrubbed and the dishes put away, I sought out Daddy in the barn where he always went to think. He was brushing Matilda's mane. She was our biscuit-colored mare he treated special. He looked up when my shadow crossed the lantern light spilling on the ground. I walked over to Jessie. Daddy loved her mostly, though I sensed she was envious of the way he treated Matilda with extra care. I reached up and scratched her between her eyes. You mad at me, Daddy? He looked at me, and the crinkle between his eyes deepened. Why didn't you tell me what you did to Beth? It should have been us knocking on their door to apologize. That's why. No one in that terrible crowd deserved an apology. She said some awful things about us. His look was pained. You can't let people's words or small-mindedness bring out the darkness in you. You've got to be stronger than that. I had a feeling he wasn't just referring to me, but to Grandma Rose. He grew up having to defend himself from taunts and rocks and blows from people who made fun of him once they found out his mama had what she calls the foresight and what they call the devil's gift. It got so bad they had to move from Farmington to Steelville, which turned out to be a good thing because that's where he met and married Mama. I know, but Daddy, everyone at school thinks our family is evil. He stopped running the brush through Matilda's mane and looked down at his boots. Not just at school. My breath caught. You heard something like that in town? His jaw tightened and he nodded. My chest heaved with a sob and I couldn't release. If I started crying, he could have stopped our talk and I needed to know more. Do you think we're evil, Daddy? His eyes shifted away from mine. As far as what y'all have being God-given, I'm not sure about that. Knowing other people's business seems like there's no point to it. I don't get why y'all are burdened with it since it's brought nothing but trouble. And I can't protect you from what other people believe or what they'll do to you because of it. He turned to me and his eyes seemed to plead. All I ever wanted was for us to live a peaceful life. I can't make that happen myself. You girls have got to help me. Ignore that gift of yours. Don't